Incredible moment, single dad brings child to interview. You won't believe what the CEO revealed. Jack's heart raced as he settled into the sleek chair of the corporate office, anxiety clawing at his insides. He could feel the cool, polished surface beneath him, mirroring the clinical detachment of the surroundings. It was worlds apart from the familiar clutter of his home and the laughter of his daughter, Emily, who sat beside him, her wide eyes full of wonder. This was his shot at a managerial position that could secure their future, but he hardly felt prepared. Just last week, he'd been haunted by the factory's rumored cuts, his hopes teetering on the edge of uncertainty. In an impulsive moment, he had chosen to bring Emily along. Her infectious laughter had been a balm to his tense nerves, but now he wondered if it had been a mistake. The office, with its metallic sheen and sharp corners, felt designed to intimidate, and he couldn't shake the fear of making a fool of himself in front of the towering CEO. What if they saw a father unable to provide? What if today wasn't just about the job, but a judgment on his worth as a parent? "Emily, keep your voice down," he whispered, desperate to maintain a semblance of control. Yet there was a peculiar comfort in her presence. Her sheer brightness starkly contrasted with the seriousness of the room, reminding him of the dreams he had carved for her. She spoke about wanting to be a scientist one day, her ambition a light that gave him hope amidst his worries. Yet the reality weighed heavily. The path to her dreams was a precarious one, especially if he failed this interview. As Jack's name was called, he took a deep breath, pushing down the surge of doubt. He stepped forward, glancing back at Emily, who smiled encouragingly. He felt a flicker of determination. Maybe he could do this. Maybe this was not just about him but about proving something to her. The very essence of hard work and integrity. The CEO, a sharp-dressed man with penetrating eyes, inquired about Jack's experience and future vision. But mid-conversation, his gaze shifted to Emily. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The question hung in the air, surprising Jack. Emily's face lit up as she shared her dreams with earnest clarity. Jack felt a strange bond forming in that shared moment. The CEO nodded with fascination, as if he saw a spark of potential that extended beyond the walls of the office and the burdens of corporate success. Then, out of the blue, the CEO leaned in, his tone suddenly conspiratorial. He revealed an offer, one that could elevate Jack's career in a matter of weeks. It would compromise his values, yet the temptation was palpable. Jack's pulse quickened in an unnerving rhythm. He was torn. Could he sacrifice his integrity for success? In that instant, the weight of choices threatened to collapse around him. Emily wants to be a scientist, he thought, despair creeping in as he realized this was more than just a job offer. It was an ethical crossroad. Sweat dampened his palms. What kind of father would choose ambition over principles? The stakes seemed more profound than a mere career shift. They echoed his very identity. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jack glanced at her, her eager face reminding him of the dreams they shared. As he waited for the CEO's next words, the tension in the room wrapped around him like a vice. What did he truly want to teach Emily? The opportunities of wealth glimmered before him, but they felt like a mirage, a shallow success. It was time to confront the deepest part of himself, testing his resolve against the heavy burden of necessity and desire. Caught in that pregnant silence, Jack's future teetered precariously on a knife's edge, the decision looming larger and more daunting with every second that passed. The CEO's gaze pierced through the tense air, drawing Jack deeper into the moment. "Consider this, Jack," he began, his voice measured and deliberate. "You have the chance to influence more than just your own career. You can redefine the game for your team, secure a future for yourself and your family." Each word hung with persuasive allure, igniting a dangerous flicker of desire in Jack's chest. The CEO continued to outline the project, a massive overhaul that could garner lucrative bonuses for everyone involved, but at what ethical cost? Jack's mind raced, darting between visions of a comfortable life for Emily, free of the grinding worry that shadowed him now, and the potential moral decay that came with crossing the line. What had begun as a professional dream was spiraling into a personal nightmare. "I've seen fathers like you try to provide for their families," the CEO added, leaning back slightly, both assured and predatory, reading Jack's internal struggle. "You know, sometimes you have to make tough calls to climb higher. This could be your opportunity." Jack's thoughts froze in place, locked in a battle with fear, ambition, and a deep-seated desire to instill integrity into Emily's upbringing. He pictured her future, one filled with the possibilities of the scientific aspirations she so eagerly articulated. Would she respect a father who chose ambition over ethics? The concept felt like salt on an open wound. "I need a moment," Jack finally managed to say, the words spilling from his mouth without prior consent. His internal conflict surged like a rising tide, he had to wrestle his thoughts into a coherent action. Sensing his urgency, the CEO nodded, dismissing him with a wave. Free from the direct scrutiny but still tethered to the weight of the moment, Jack stepped out of the plush office, his chest tightening with every step that and the tranquility of the corridor. Jack felt the world around him blur. He always believed success stemmed from hard work and resilience, not manipulative tactics. Would bowing to the pressure of corporate politics violate the very foundation he wished to build for Emily? Gritting his teeth against that prospect, he took a deep breath, forcing clarity back into his mind. Turning toward the coffee station, he absently poured himself a cup and remembered the countless nights he had dedicated to personal growth instead of mindless entertainment. It was a sacrifice made out of love for Emily, a commitment to leave behind more than just a paycheck. Would he allow fear of failure to derail that mission? Jack looked at his reflection in the dark coffee pot and recognized a glimmer of something buried deep within, the courage to confront uncomfortable truths. There was still power in his decision to reflect integrity over wealth. This was more than an interview, more than a career opportunity, it was a defining chapter of his life. His resolve began to solidify. Jack felt the walls of uncertainty receding, replaced by a burgeoning sense of purpose. Empowered by the purpose of his role as a father, he decided he would negotiate his terms. If they wanted him, they would have to recognize his worth and values. Stepping back into the office, Jack interrupted the CEO mid-sentence. "I will not compromise my values for this position," he stated firmly, refusing to let doubt overshadow his convictions. The CEO's eyes widened, but there was no backing down now. As he stood there, braced for the inevitable fallout of his defiance, Jack felt something shift within him. The future was still uncertain, but a newfound strength surged through him. It was not just about him anymore, it was about establishing a legacy for Emily, showing her the true meaning of strength. Jack's heart thudded with palpable intensity. The decision had been made, but the implications echoed far beyond his grasp. As he awaited the CEO's response, the weight of the moment bore down heavy, filled with the promise of both peril and profound change, and in that instant, Jack didn't just question his future, he feared the outcomes of his conflict. As his world shifted with every passing second. Would he be met with acceptance or rejection? Would they understand the depth of his choices, or dismiss him entirely? The moment of truth loomed large, and he was unprepared for whatever might come next. Silence draped the office as Jack stood firm, his heart racing and palms clammy. The CEO's expression shifted, betraying a flicker of surprise followed swiftly by a veneer of calm. "You're declaring yourself, Jack," he finally said, his tone now almost conversational. "But I wonder, how far are you willing to take this stance?" Jack felt a swell of adrenaline rush through him, pairing with a tingling apprehension. This wasn't just about the job offer, it felt like leaping into an abyss, armed only with his convictions. Every instinct in him screamed to temper his courage, to mold it into something more acceptable, more palatable for the corporate world that thrived on conformity. But he thought of Emily. This moment wasn't merely a career decision, it was about her future, the values he would pass down to her. "I'm willing to fight for what I believe in," Jack replied, summoning a confidence he didn't fully feel. If that means walking away from this offer, so be it. I deserve a place where my values align with the company's vision." The CEO's eyebrows furrowed for a brief moment, as if calculating the ramifications of Jack's boldness. "Interesting approach, Jack. But let us not kid ourselves. This world is competitive. You can't afford to be naive." "I don't intend to be naive," Jack shot back, a new resolve lacing his voice. "But there's a fine line between ambition and unethical maneuvering. I refuse to compromise integrity for profit." A heavy moment passed between them, the atmosphere thick with unsettled tension. Jack noticed a brief flicker of respect in the CEO's eyes, quickly masked by professional coolness. "You might be surprised by what you can achieve, even when playing by the rules," he advised. "Let us say I admire your guts. I can see you're passionate. But what does that mean for this project?" Jack steadied himself. This was his opportunity to not just defend his principles, but to advocate for ethical business practices. "I believe we can achieve the same results without sacrificing our integrity. There are innovative approaches that motivate the team and yield long-term success." The silence resumed, charged with unsaid words. Jack felt the weight of the CEO's expectations, and his own fears threatened to bubble to the surface. What if he was mistaken? What if this bold refusal to comply cost him everything? With the same urgency that propelled him into this conversation, Jack took a moment to focus on his breathing, centering himself. He shifted slightly, grounding his thoughts. The images of Emily's smiling face filled his mind once more, reminding him that this moment was about more than career aspirations, it was a quest to leave a legacy of integrity. "Perhaps we could explore your ideas," the CEO finally suggested, yet the slight skepticism in his tone suggested further tests ahead. "But understand, it comes at a cost. Changing direction can ruffle feathers." Jack nodded, recognizing the delicate nature of the challenge ahead. This initial hesitant acceptance was a victory, albeit a small one. He would need to prepare for pushback, perhaps even sabotaging attempts from those blindly following the company's traditional routes. "Then let's ruffle some feathers," Jack replied, surprising both himself and the CEO with his audacity. As the meeting evolved into more concrete discussions about strategies and proposals, Jack glanced around the office while mentally preparing himself for the battles to come. The clock counted down, ticking away more than just time. It counted down to moments of accountability and choices, both crucial for navigating this new landscape. Jack knew he was on the precipice of something significant, not just for himself, but potentially for his colleagues as well. And yet, doubt still danced in the background of his mind like ghosts at a feast. The potential repercussions of his stand, the complexities he had yet to navigate. As they wrapped up the meeting, the CEO stood, extending a hand that felt both like a culmination and a challenge. Jack grasped it firmly, but hesitated, suddenly aware that more than just his principles were on the line. Would this path he'd chosen lead to empowerment or isolation? He exited the office filled with a swirl of thoughts, half emboldened by his newfound stand, half trepidatious about the conflict that loomed ahead. Would his choices boost his career or dismantle it? The question hung ominously in the air as the door clicked shut behind him, sealing away the comfort of certainty. Jack had taken a significant step forward, but now the daunting reality of what lay ahead threatened to engulf him. The winding road ahead offered no guarantees, and in that uncertain moment, Jack understood, the fight for integrity had just begun. The fluorescent lights droned on overhead, casting a sterile light across Jack's workstation as he sat down to process the whirlwind of the morning. His heartbeat gradually descended from the frantic tempo of the meeting, but his mind raced with questions and possibilities that felt simultaneously thrilling and perilous. Each keystroke on the keyboard felt heavy, weighted by a sense of urgency. He opened the project file for the account he'd argued about with the CEO, staring at the outline of the plan he believed in deeply. But as he read the proposals, he couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that lingered in his gut. He caught a glimpse of the larger landscape, the enemies that could lurk amid and the allies he would need to cultivate. Jack understood that being the lone voice of integrity might isolate him among colleagues who valued success above ethics. Jack came a voice from across the office. It was Sarah, one of his closest co-workers. She hovered uncertainly at the edge of his desk, her brow furrowed. "I heard you had quite a chat with the CEO earlier. Are you okay?" He looked up, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Yeah, just pushing for some changes." Sarah's expression was a mix of admiration and concern. "You know, the others are not thrilled with the direction things might go if you push too hard. They think it could jeopardize the project and their livelihoods." The words stabbed at Jack. It was all too easy for colleagues to view his stand as reckless. He had to remind himself that he was fighting for more than just his career, he was fighting for their values as well. "I appreciate your concern, Sarah. But if we don't stand up for what matters, what's the point?" Her gaze softened, but Jack sensed her hesitation. "Just be careful. Not everyone sees this the way you do. It can get ugly." Feeling the weight of the conversation, Jack waved her off with a dismissive nod. "I know, and I'll think it through. I'm not going in blind." As she walked away, Jack's spine tingled with the awareness that perhaps he'd underestimated the potential fallout. His boldness could alienate his colleagues. As the workday drudged on, Jack's mind spiraled further into self-reflection. The stakes felt impossibly high. With every strategy he planned, he faced the specter of doubt haunting the edges of his resolve. The promotional materials he envisioned clean, ethical, compelling suddenly turned into a battlefield of conflicting ideas. An image of Emily suddenly invaded his thoughts again, her laughter ringing like a bell from the past. She was counting on him to show her a life of principled living, and yet here he was, standing on the edge of potential failure. The weight of his role twisted in his stomach. By the end of the day, Jack gathered his things among the lingering organizers, paperwork and fervent ambitions strewn about like disheveled thoughts. He had a meeting scheduled with a small group of trusted peers, those who felt as he did. They had decided to discuss their collective strategies, to unravel the tension that pulsed through the office and examine the resistances introduced by their colleagues. He took a deep breath as he stepped into the conference room, steeling himself for the conversations about to unfold. The discussion soon turned heated as they debated various tactics. Despite their shared commitment to change, opposition emerged from within their group. A few discussions rumbled sadly around potential risks to personal reputations and deliverables. Behind the words spoken lay unsteady pauses and fragmented sighs, each person grappling with the same values Jack championed, yet unsure of their strength to defend them. With a quickening pulse, Jack associated their anxiety with his own. Was he inadvertently stoking flames of division? "Guys," he chimed in, his voice rising slightly, "I know we're afraid. But pushing for change means we have to back each other up. We can't let fear dictate our values." His appeal was met with a mix of head nodding and dubious glances, exacerbating the tension he had never intended to create. Jack suddenly found himself on a critical precipice. Could he trust this team to stand firm behind his vision, or was he merely leading them into chaos? That question hung in the air, thick with uncertainty as they shifted uneasily in their seats, plunging Jack deep into the morass of decision and consequence. Could he convert this group of wavering supporters into a solid foundation? Or would the road ahead force him to walk alone, battling not only the company's hierarchy but also the internal discord within his team? In that moment, the fight for integrity confronted Jack anew with a stark reality: victory could come at an unforeseen cost. The trajectory of both his career and those around him felt almost unbearably fragile, like a single golden leaf in the gust of an autumn wind. What awaited him on that unpredictable journey? As they wrapped up the meeting, Jack realized he couldn't see the broader implications of his choices just yet. But he had to confront them, as the shadow of his ambitions loomed ever larger. It was time to prepare for the real fight. Jack barely slept that night, the shadows of doubt lingering in his mind. The meeting had unsettled him far more than he expected, not because of the resistance he faced, but due to the nagging worry that he could be completely wrong. This fear twisted like a noose around his thoughts, tightening with each hour he spent staring at the ceiling. Morning came too fast, the fluorescent lights ringing harshly in his ears as he made his way into the office. Even the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee felt different. He could practically taste the anxiety on his tongue. With each step, he felt the weight of his choices bearing down upon him as he navigated the sea of co-workers who seemed determined to keep their heads down, conversations muted and equally tense. Jack settled back at his cluttered desk, a familiar sensation prickling at the back of his mind. He opened his laptop and reviewed the latest project drafts, but the lines blurred. Words from last night's meeting crowded in, doubts twisted his vision into a haze. He remembered the uncertain faces, the hesitation that had filled the air. Were they all right to question his integrity? He tapped away aimlessly at his keyboard, each keystroke filling him with increasing frustration until, at last, he snapped. Hands clenched into fists, he pushed away from the desk, the chair squeaking sharply against the floor. It was time to reclaim his focus. He had to stop letting fear dictate his actions. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes, letting the moment stretch out for the briefest of seconds. "I'm doing this for a reason," he whispered to himself, summoning the image of Emily, her laughter glowing with warmth. It struck him that he had not only a responsibility to his role but to the values he had vowed to uphold. He had to act with purpose, not just react to the pressures weighing on him. With renewed resolve, Jack scheduled a small team meeting. He invited those who had expressed misgivings, hoping to address the concerns head-on. As the clock approached noon, he rehearsed what he wanted to say. Communication was the key. He would lay out not just his vision, but also the reasons behind his convictions with clarity and humility. When the team gathered, Jack felt the tension radiating from their faces. But he welcomed it, embracing the discomfort. "Thank you all for coming," he started. "I know this situation has created a lot of uncertainty. I want us to have an open conversation." As he spoke, he made a conscious effort to look each person in the eye, wanting to establish a connection. He explained his reasoning, pulling from their shared experiences and values how they all wanted to create something they could be proud of, not just a profitable venture. He outlined risks, elaborated on potential pitfalls they could navigate together, and most importantly, he encouraged feedback, wanting to make it clear that everyone in the room shared ownership of the vision. Gradually, the edges of their wariness began to soften. Questions arose, not in hostility but in curiosity. Ideas bounced around, laughter returned, and in that electric atmosphere, Jack felt the reins of leadership shift back into his hands. He could see flickers of confidence spreading among them, a willingness to venture into the turbulence together, but the power in the room was still laced with uncertainty. When they adjourned the meeting, Jack could tell this newfound energy was fragile. They had moved away from dissension, but the balance could easily tip again. As he transitioned back to his desk, his heart swelled with cautious optimism. They had turned a corner, but it wouldn't be their last challenge. What lay ahead would test their cohesion, both as a team and individuals. Jack felt the anticipation of an impending storm brewing in the distance, one that would push him to confront his convictions with even greater force. Could he maintain this fragile alliance as they ventured deeper into uncharted waters? He paused, feeling a chill wash over him, wondering if his team would remain steadfast when the true test arrived. With every beat of his heart, Jack knew the real confrontation was on the horizon and he had to prepare for it. Would his team stand with him, or would they crumble under the weight of the challenges to come? The days that followed were a haze of activity, purpose intertwining with anxiety like a finely woven fabric. Jack's determination to strengthen his team's unity fueled every decision he made. Their spontaneous brainstorming sessions became more frequent, each meeting illuminating their collective potential while pushing him on an unexpected journey of self-discovery. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, a flicker of inspiration ignited within him. Jack walked into the conference room, where the team was clustered, eyes filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He laid out a bold idea: a team retreat. "We need to connect on a deeper level," he said, pulse quickening with each word. "Let us leave our roles behind for a moment. Together, we can recharge, refocus, and connect as a unit." The collective enthusiasm surprised him. Unblocked by the walls they had built, they eagerly mapped out ideas for activities that ranged from trust-building exercises to casual campfire chats. Yet, amidst their excitement, a confusing wave of fear washed over Jack. Was he leading them toward an impactful experience or merely a distraction from looming challenges? As he recognized this fear, something fundamental shifted within him. Jack started to reflect on his own values, questioning what he truly wanted out of his leadership role. He thought of Emily again, of the warmth and safety they had created together. Would she be proud of the risks he was taking? The retreat was set for the following weekend, and the anticipation in the office was palpable. But as the event approached, an unexpected obstacle emerged. Unexpected deadlines materialized, jeopardizing their plans. Jack felt an unsettling twist in his stomach. Should he prioritize the immediate demands of deadlines over the investment in his team? Would his commitment to their development falter in the face of adversity? A war raged within him. Consciously, he weighed the implications of both choices, noting how neither was straightforward. Rejecting the retreat outright could damage the spirits they had just begun to foster. Ultimately, Jack decided to uphold the commitment to the retreat, embracing the risk. We have to breathe, he reasoned, to evolve and innovate as a team. The night before they departed, he stood in front of his mirror, the weight of leadership heavy on his shoulders, shadows of doubt creeping back in. Would the retreat be a success, or would he discover that the supposed unity was just an illusion? He needed more than just a team that followed orders. He craved a collective strength born from trust, understanding, and shared experiences. Upon their arrival at the retreat site, nestled among towering trees and tranquil lakes, tension gave way to curiosity. The first exercise involved sharing personal stories, tales that revealed vulnerabilities and triumphs that bonded them in unexpected ways. As Jack listened to his colleagues, he began to experience the boundaries of his own narrative shifting. Their lives unfolded like intricate tapestries, richer than he had known, prompting a swollen sense of empathy within him. Emboldened by the atmosphere of openness, Jack shared his own story, recounting his journey and struggles as a leader. He felt raw and exposed as words rolled off his tongue, plunging into the depths of his insecurities. Silence enveloped the group, a silence that felt electric with understanding and camaraderie. Through sensitive exchanges, his team began to articulate their fears. "We were afraid of getting it wrong too," someone admitted, and in that moment, Jack felt the tides turn in their collective psyche. But before he could bask in the glow of newfound hope, their session was interrupted by a sudden storm forming on the horizon, both literally and metaphorically. Thunder rumbled ominously, and a chilling breeze swept through the woods. Jack realized that the real test was yet to come. The retreat they had longed for would now coincide with uncertainty, and the stakes were higher than ever. Would the bonds they forged withstand the storm, or would their truths and fears collide violently, shattering the fragile unity they had nurtured? As darkness loomed both outside and within, Jack steadied himself for what lay ahead, ready to confront the challenges that threatened to unravel it all. The storm broke with an unexpected ferocity, rain pelting the cabin and drenching the surroundings. Inside, the team's uneasy energy crackled in the charged atmosphere. Jack stood at the heart of it all, a mixture of exhilaration and dread swirling within him. As the wind howled outside, he recognized this as a metaphor for the turbulence they faced as a group. The atmosphere shifted from a space of authenticity to one ripe with uncertainty. Yet, he felt a pull to lean into the chaos, driven by a potent blend of responsibility and a desire for deeper connection. "Let us not let the weather dampen our spirits," he urged, forcing an encouraging smile onto his face. "We're here to face challenges together, out in the storm or within ourselves." The words surfaced with surprising strength. Encouraged, he proposed the next activity, a less structured dialogue that allowed them to voice the collective anxieties stirred by the storm. The group's apprehension was palpable as they hesitated, but one by one, teammates began sharing their reactions to the chaos around them. "How do we navigate through unforeseen pressures?" someone asked, a tremor in her voice. It struck Jack how this question transcended their immediate predicament. He saw it for what it was, a reflection of their professional lives and personal fears intertwining beneath the surface. Jack listened intently, each revelation illuminating layers of vulnerability and resilience within the team. As they spoke, he realized that every trembling confession was a bond-forming moment. They didn't just face provisions their roles dictated, they tackled the essence of being human, grappling with vulnerability and uncertainty. But here, in the camaraderie, doubt began to resurface within Jack. Amidst heartfelt confessions, he could feel an unsettling comparison creep into his mind. Who was he really to lead this group? His insecurities, which he had just begun to confront, threatened to rear their ugly heads again. As one member detailed the fear of failure that had plagued her, he felt their collective fears morphing into empathy. But he caught himself becoming lost in this swirling tide of thoughts. Was he simply projecting his own issues? Should he even be guiding these conversations? The internal struggle intensified, and he wrestled with the duality of being both a mentor and a fellow employee. Just as he contemplated stepping back, a small voice from the circle broke through Jack. "You're not alone in feeling this way." Her affirmation was like a light piercing through the fog of his doubts. It sparked a deep introspection that had been waiting to happen. Could admitting his own fears strengthen them as a unit? "Maybe we're all just trying to avoid the storm," Jack said, his voice steadier now. "And sometimes, facing it head-on might just be the best way to find clarity. Let's confront these feelings together." In that moment, a revelation struck him. Vulnerability wasn't a weakness, but rather a source of strength, a foundation upon which meaningful connections were built. As he invited everyone to share not just their fears but their aspirations, he sensed a pivotal shift. The atmosphere contained a dynamic energy, and in that very admittance, a path to trust was being carved. Just as the storm's intensity peaked outside, Jack felt a calm burgeoning within him. They were not just a team anymore, they were allies in a shared journey of understanding and growth. Yet, a sudden, loud crash outside jolted him to the reality looming outside their emotional sanctuary. Wind had knocked over a tree in the distance, a jarring reminder that not all storms were confined to metaphor. Tension unfurled again. Were they ready to face both the internal and external disturbances? Jack resolved to wield the burgeoning momentum, driving their narrative toward resolution. The stakes had never been clearer, and the question remained: could the emerging trust endure as they confronted the storm? As the thunder roared and rain lashed the windows, Jack took a deep breath, bracing for the next moment. The real test was just beginning. Would their emerging strength withstand both the tempest and the truths buried deep within? The wind howled with renewed fury, the thunder seeming to punctuate the charged atmosphere as Jack turned back to his teammates. He noticed their expressions shifting from worry to determination, an undercurrent of solidarity weaving through the room. It was as if the storm outside had ignited a fire within them, and he felt an unexpected resolve begin to firm up inside of him as well. "Let's take this opportunity," he declared, rallying their focus, "to truly explore what each of us brings to the table. What hidden strengths do we have that we haven't utilized yet?" It was a disarming question that invited them to consider not just their fears, but their potential. One by one, they shared surprising capabilities, skills they had buried under layers of self-doubt or forgotten ambitions. Jack listened intently, a sense of pride swelling within him. Each story added to the collective tapestry, displaying resilience and creativity. A graphic designer revealed she had experience in animation, a skill she had never imagined would be relevant to their current projects. Another shared his proficiency in coding, a talent previously overshadowed by his doubts about fitting in. Each revelation marked a milestone in their journey. Jack couldn't shake the gnawing thought that he, too, had untapped facets waiting to emerge. He glanced at the others, suddenly aware of their expectations for him to lead, to innovate, to set an example. For a fleeting second, his stomach twisted with anxiety. Was he ready to rise to the occasion? The weight of his own unknown capabilities pressed heavily on him. Amidst these pressing dynamics, the sound of splintering wood snapped him back to the outside world. The storm intensified, and with it, a flicker of panic wriggled into his mind. Could he keep their momentum despite the chaos outside and the unpredictable challenges that lay ahead? Jack. A quiet voice pulled him back. It was Sarah, the team member who had first voiced her fears. There was urgency in her eyes. "We're counting on you to navigate us through this," she said softly but resolutely. Her words echoed in Jack's mind. The weight of responsibility felt overwhelming, an electrifying burden that both terrified and exhilarated him. "Let us take a break," he suggested, his voice gaining strength once more. "A moment to step outside, feel the storm that we're metaphorically battling. Sometimes, facing that chaos can reignite our creative energies." As they stepped into the rain-slicked air, Jack couldn't help but feel invigorated by the clash of nature's ferocity against the small microcosm of their spirit. Sensing strength and vulnerability, he thought of how his connection with this group had evolved into something hardy and robust. They were individuals grappling with their own storms, yet unified in a pursuit of growth. The storm briefly quieted, and in that stillness, an idea sparked in Jack's mind, a new project that could incorporate all the talents his team had just unveiled. A collaborative campaign that not only showcased their creative strengths but delved into their fears and aspirations. It could serve as an anthem for growth amid adversity, both personally and professionally. He looked at each member, realizing he could channel his own uncertainties into the project, leading by example rather than being bound by the weight of unattainable expectations. This revelation illuminated a new path forward, but as the winds threatened to steady again, the shadows of self-doubt began to creep back. Could he balance revealing his vulnerabilities while leading the charge? The group's attention turned back to Jack, waiting for him to voice his newfound insight. The hunger for direction was palpable as thunder rumbled ominously above. Jack opened his mouth to speak, but before any words could form, a deafening clap of thunder resonated. Suddenly, the cabin flickered with an unsettling darkness, the power momentarily interrupted. An echoing silence followed, leaving their anxiety hanging thick in the air. Was this the moment he had been waiting for? Would they rally together and confront this challenge as they had their fears? Jack clenched his jaw, dynamic thoughts entwining with instinctive trepidation. The stakes were sliding beyond mere interpersonal growth. They were on the cusp of both vulnerability and potential failure, caught between external turmoil and internal discovery. How could he lead them through not just the storm outside but the tempest still brewing within their hearts? Would they survive or shatter in the face of a power outage that felt ominously symbolic of their uncertainties? As the wind began to howl again, Jack braced himself, heart pounding, for the answers that lay just beyond the horizon. The darkness enveloped the cabin like a thick blanket, amplifying the palpable tension. Jack's heart raced. He felt the weight of his teammates' uncertainty pressing down on him, as if their collective hopes were now perched precariously on his ability to connect and inspire them. A part of him wanted to retreat, to whisper reassurances and hide his own fears beneath the facade of a capable leader, but he knew he had to confront this moment head-on. "Everyone," he said, his voice steady despite the tempest around them, "I may not have all the answers right now, but we do have strengths that can guide us." The vibrancy of the storm outside mirrored the whirl of emotions in his chest, yet this was precisely the challenge they needed to transcend their insecurities. His awareness of the weight of their situation grew. How they faced external chaos reflected their internal struggles. The flickering of the cabin lights returned, casting shadows that danced across the walls, echoing the conflict within him. Jack noticed how the team looked to him, some with anticipation, others with anxiety. Did they truly see a leader, or just a fellow traveler on this unpredictable journey? In that moment, he had a revelation: vulnerability could be a source of strength. "Let us talk about what it means to be vulnerable," he continued, drawing in a deep breath to steady himself. "If we share our fears, we can find ways to navigate them. We're all in this together." Their expressions shifted slightly, hesitation wavering between them. It was a pivotal moment. The storm outside raged furiously, yet inside, a flicker of potential was igniting. Sarah's earlier words echoed, prodding him to probe deeper. "How many times have we hesitated because we were worried about showing our true selves?" Jack asked, the question hanging poignantly in the air. One by one, team members began to share. A quiet admission from a writer about performance anxiety. A revelation from the coder about feeling inadequate in collaborative settings. Each confession peeled back layers of fear and ultimately revealed shared experiences. Jack felt a synchronized heartbeat among them, a pulse of solidarity that surged as they embraced their collective uncertainties. This was not just about the external storm, it was an exploration of the internal tempests they faced. In sharing those fears, they illuminated the shadows suffocating their potential. Jack was amazed at how these revelations reminded him of his own doubts, surfacing memories of past struggles that commonality bound them. The fear of inadequacy loomed like dark clouds over his own decisions, but he recognized now that confronting these insecurities could yield growth not just for himself, but for everyone. With newfound assertiveness, Jack suggested a brainstorming session around the collaborative campaign he had envisioned. Let us channel this energy and create something authentic. Something that represents us, vulnerabilities included. He noticed the flicker of enthusiasm in their eyes. They were starting to see the path ahead, shaped by their shared experiences, both light and dark. They clustered around a table, ideas flowing, fear dissipating, and moments of laughter punctuating the intensity of their dialogue. Jack noticed how the atmosphere gradually transformed from one of trepidation to creativity. Suddenly, the storm outside felt less foreboding. It had become a backdrop to their awakening, a metaphor for overcoming their struggles. Yet, just as the discussion began to take shape, the lights flickered again, and an uneasy stillness settled on the group. The shadows intensified, looming ominously. Jack felt his heart drop. Had their moment of connection been fleeting? He glanced around, fear creeping back in as uncertainty danced perilously close to their newfound confidence. "Everyone," he said, as urgency and uncertainty mingled, "this is just the calm before the next wave. Will we bend, or will we rise?" The silence that followed was heavy with expectation, and Jack understood that his answer held the key to their next step, one fraught with potential but underscored by the looming challenge of doubt. Would they embrace the chaos together, or let the storm win? As the wind howled fiercely outside, Jack readied himself to face what was coming, holding tightly to the nascent strength woven through their vulnerabilities. The true test awaited just beyond the darkness, and every heartbeat echoed a looming revelation. What would they discover about themselves as this fierce storm raged on? Jack stood on the precipice of change, staring down at the rough terrain he traversed. The retreat had borne fruit, not just in teamwork but in his own understanding of leadership. As the storm faded, both outside and within the group, a newfound clarity emerged. Embracing vulnerability had transformed the dynamics, shifting hesitations into commitments. In the weeks that followed, Jack witnessed an evolution in his team. They collaborated on projects with a fervor that had been dormant, eager to harness the strengths they had once stifled under the weight of self-doubt. Jack didn't just want to be seen as a manager, he aspired to be a leader who inspired resilience. Each brainstorming session became a setting where ideas flourished, a space where their vulnerabilities merged into a shared strength. As quarterly reviews approached, Jack found himself preparing for a presentational showcase of the innovative campaign born from their collective creativity. Remarkably, the challenges he had initially feared became opportunities for growth, forming a narrative that underscored their journey together. Jack recalled the eyes of each team member from the retreat, their fears now replaced with determination, and he couldn't help but feel a surge of validation. They were ready. His confidence solidified. He stepped into that boardroom feeling less like a lone wolf and more like a witness to a shared orchestration of talents. The CEO listened intently as Jack articulated the vision, explaining how embracing vulnerability had not only strengthened team cohesion but also fostered creativity that could redefine their market position. The numbers he presented were compelling growth metrics that showed progress in ways that traditional tactics had stymied at every turn. In that pivotal moment, Jack didn't just present data points. He revealed the heart behind the numbers, the principle of authenticity that had begun to ripple through the company culture. He illustrated how fostering a supportive atmosphere could lead to innovation, breaking down confines of fear that had long stunted potential. In a sea of corporate suits, Jack had emerged as a confident warrior for integrity, showcasing results that stemmed directly from the values he had chosen to uphold. By the end of the presentation, Jack could see it in the hum of distracted murmurs turning into applause. The CEO's expression morphed from neutrality into appreciation, a flicker of acknowledgement that fed Jack's sense of belonging in the corporate realm. "You've brought a fresh breath of air into our strategy, Jack," he would later say. "We want you to lead this initiative." Jack's achievement was not just a personal and professional milestone, it was a testament to the growth of his entire team. Embracing vulnerability had been the catalyst for their transformation, and now, Jack stood with newfound authority not merely as a manager but as a genuine leader. As he stepped back onto his office floor, he felt the warmth of Emily's laughter drifting back into his consciousness, a sweet reminder of why he stepped into this attractive chaos in the first place. He had proven not just to the company but to himself that success did not begin and end with profit margins, it was grounded in principles and people. Jack had conquered the mountains of self-doubt, and in so doing, he had also become a guiding beacon for others. The storm had ultimately led him to this path, and as he looked ahead, he envisioned a future where he would enable not only his team to thrive but also empower others to realize their strengths. The timeline of uncertainty folded neatly into a trajectory of fulfillment, and Jack knew this was only the beginning. The true testament of his journey was now crystallized. He had bridged the world of integrity with ambition, which was the legacy he would share with his daughter. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Your thoughts matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Show your support for real stories of transformation.